Hello, thank you for joining me here at Why the Book Wins, where I compare books with their movie adaptations. Today I'm talking about the new movie Tarot, directed by Spencer Cohen and Anna Hallberg, released in 2024, and I am comparing it with the book it is loosely adapted from, titled Horrorscope, written by John Peel but published under the name Nicholas Adams, and it was released in 1992. And the book and movie are very different, so I am going to begin giving you the gist of the movie plot, and then we will move on to the book, and then from there I will get into the things they do have in common and share my thoughts on each of them. And this is broken up into the timestamps down below though, so you can hop around as you please. But to begin with the movie plot, so we have a group of college friends who are renting a house for the weekend, and they find this old tarot deck down in the basement, and one of them, Haley, she is really into tarot and astrology and everything, and so they ask her to do a reading for them, and she tells them it's really bad luck to use someone else's deck. However, ultimately she concedes, and she does a reading for each of them, including herself. And then what do you know, the very next day they start to die, and their deaths reflect their zodiac sign to some extent, but primarily they reflect what the reading had said and what their primary card had been. And also the illustrations on these cards, and then you see the cards come to life, and yeah, they were so creepy, so very disturbing, very creepy, very effective, very well done on that part of the movie. But by the time two of their friends have died within 2 days, they start to realize that this reflects the tarot readings. And Haley is the main one who puts this all together because she is the one who's super into this. And so they do a Google search. I'm not even sure what they had searched, but they find the name of this lady, and she had a website. And on her website, she talks about other people who died after getting a tarot reading. And so they drive to her house, and it turns out she had done a tarot reading for people. She didn't do her own, she just did other people's, and then they all ended up dying. But she survived because she didn't read her own. And this was decades ago. And ever since then, she has just been hunting down these tarot cards and trying to learn as much as she can about them and why they're cursed and why is this happening. And we find out that the deck was made by an astrologist back in the 1700s. She would tell the fortune for this rich guy, this baron. And at one point, she told him that his wife, an unborn child, would die in childbirth. And this guy was upset that she was saying this, and so he banishes her. But then when it comes true and the wife and child do die, he accuses her of witchcraft, has her hunted down, and they end up killing her daughter. And so because they have killed her daughter, she then creates this deck and she kills herself in the process. And by doing so, she has cursed the deck so that anybody who does a reading with it, that reading will cause their own death essentially. And by doing this, she also ends up killing, the count who ended up killing her daughter. And so this lady tells them that the only way to not die is to get rid of the deck. And so they go back to that house, they try burning the cards, doesn't work. And so then they call this lady up, and then she has to drive up. Why did they not bring her to begin with? I didn't understand that. She has spent decades obsessing over these cards, trying to destroy them, trying to get to the bottom of this. And now she knows where they are, and she's not even going to follow the kids. Anyway, they call her, she shows up, and she's like, we need to summon the astrologer herself. And so she summons the astrologer, and then the lady, I forget her name, but the astrologer kills her. So she's almost useless because all she does is bring the astrologer, which I guess ends up being important, but she was kind of an awesome character. Like, I liked the actress and I liked her presence on screen. And so I was kind of bummed that as soon as she shows up, she's killed off so soon. But regardless, ultimately they defeat the astrologist because Haley does a tarot reading for the astrologist. And remember, when you get your reading done, you end up dying. So because she reads for the astrologist, the deck is destroyed, and the astrologist, we see her walk off with her daughter in the spirit world, and she is finally at peace. And then 3 friends survive, and it's happily ever after. And then the book plot. So this takes place at a high school, and there are kids being killed, and our main character is Robin, and she is very into astrology, and she even writes daily horoscopes in her school paper. And then she realizes that the killings are based on the zodiac signs, and the way the people are killed reflects their zodiac. And then also they are killed when they are shown that they will have a bad day, essentially. So the killer is reading this horoscope. The next zodiac he needs to kill, when he sees that they are going to have a bad day, he kills them, and he kills them in a way that reflects their sign. For example, the person who is an Aries, that is a ram, and she ends up being killed with a wool scarf. And then the guy who is Taurus, which is a bull, he is like stabbed in a way that looks like he was gored by a bull. And so Robin and her friends try to figure out who the killer is, and at one point they, are kind of suspecting each other perhaps, specifically this guy named Jeff, who is kind of a new new friend of Robin's, but it ends up being the school janitor. And so they have this showdown at the end at the school, and Robin ultimately causes his death because they are fighting in a lake and she punches him. And I guess there's like a sand pit at the bottom of this lake that can kind of suck people in, and he gets like sucked and stuck in that and ends up drowning and dying. And that is the end of the killings. So obviously there's a lot of changes here. You know, like the movie takes the supernatural route, whereas the book, it was just a regular guy, like a crazy regular guy doing the killings. Nothing supernatural about it. But some similarities, it's always a female in both book and movie that are into astrology, and then the males are the ones that tend to be more skeptical and be like, I can't believe you think this is real, like this is so stupid. However, in both we have a male character who kind of comes around, and because of his interest in the female, he shows that he actually has been looking into astrology and the zodiac signs, and so that's like one loose similarity. And then of course the way their deaths reflect what their sign is. I mean, in the book specifically it reflects their sign. In the movie it more reflects their tarot reading. But I did think that was a cool aspect. And you know, the movie in particular had a very Final Destination feel where they know like we are all going to die. It's just a matter of when. And there were two deaths I thought were well done, and that was the character in the car. She had the hangman, and I thought that was well done because she's watching the recording because she recorded her reading. And I just thought that was really suspenseful. And then also Avantika, she is killed by the magician card. And that too, that was like my favorite one because yeah, it was just so creepy and unsettling. And this is PG-13, so it's not gory at all. So they're not relying on gruesome images. They're relying just on like creepiness and being unsettling. And I often find that more effective. And so yeah, I was definitely very creeped out multiple times. And then yeah, like I said, all of the cards just looked so good. The Hermit was really good too. The Fool, like they all were amazing. And that is definitely a big reason why if you're into horror, I would recommend this. And that is for the imagery we get with these cards. But yeah, and in the book, it was fun in a dark way to see how these kids were killed based on their zodiac sign. So it was kind of fun and clever to see that. And the book was more graphic than I expected because this is a YA book. Like this is targeted to teenagers. And based on the writing, you can definitely tell. But it was more violent in some ways than I would have expected because of that. But also in both book and movie, in the end, the main character tries to outsmart the killer because in the movie, she outsmarts the astrologist by doing a reading for the astrologist, which that was a pretty cheesy scene when she's like, what happened to you was wrong. I know what it's like to lose someone you love, and whatever she says. It was very cheesy. But in the book, we get a similar scene because Robin is the one who writes the horoscopes, but she does it under a false name. And so when she has this one-on-one with the janitor and he tells her how, you know, he's doing it based on these horoscopes he reads and how he's killing them off so that he can get good luck in his life, and how he just has this whole plan for why he's doing this. And she knows that he had changed one of the horoscopes that she submitted to the school newspaper. So she uses that on him, being like, I write those horoscopes based on what the stars tell me, and I know you changed the one for today. And so because you changed it, this isn't going to work. Your whole plan is messed up. And so she kind of tries to trick him and manipulate him in that way. However, he doesn't really fall for it, and he still continues trying to kill people. But in the end, we also have 3 of them that survive. So that's another loose similarity. But in the end of the movie, it was like, so it's Haley and her boyfriend are the ones who survive and defeat the astrologist. And then as they're walking home, this other guy that we had kind of assumed was dead, he ends up showing up. And it was just such a cheesy ending because it was like too happy seeing the 3 of them just drive off together and it's all good. I kept expecting some twist, like for it to not actually be that guy who drove up and he would transform and he would become the astrologist or something. That would be cheesy too, I guess. But yeah, and then Haley says something like, you know how they defeated fate? And she's like, screw fate. But she uses the F word, so she's like, F fate. And that's how the movie ends. And it was like painfully corny. Yeah, I just did not like the ending. I'm fine with a happy ending if it's well executed, but this just was not well executed. But anyway, to move on to book versus movie. So like I said, this book is targeted towards teen audiences, and the way it's written, you can definitely tell that. However, I did enjoy the book for the most part, but the fact that the janitor was the killer was so incredibly obvious, so much so that I was like, this has to be just a red herring, right? Because if he ends up being the killer, is anyone supposed to be surprised by that because it is so obvious? And I don't know, if I was a teenager reading this, would I have thought it was obvious or would I have been surprised? It's hard to say. I know I would have loved this book had I read it when I was a teen, but unfortunately I didn't. But even though I didn't read this book, there was a lot of nostalgia with this kind of book, right? Because I remember seeing books like this all over the place. Goosebumps, Are You Afraid of the Dark, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, like all of these books like this were so popular. And a lot of them, just their covers would scare me. And so yeah, this was just very nostalgic to read this, and I did enjoy it and had a lot of fun with it, even if the killer being the janitor was no surprise at all. And with the movie, there is no mystery aspect, like, oh, who's the killer? Like, clearly it's the tarot cards, right? But it was fun to find out the backstory onto why the tarot cards were cursed, and I did really enjoy that. And that too had like a Final Destination 2 vibe when they go see Ollie Larder. You know, they're like, how did you survive this? You're the only one. And I do like the Final Destination movies, and so I did enjoy that vibe we had going on here. But this is a book I would never feel the need to read again. And then same with the movie. I don't think I would ever watch this movie again. Maybe if I was in a group, I would enjoy it a bit more, but it was pretty creepy and I am easily scared. And because I'm such a scaredy cat, you might be like, why did you even watch this? Why are you covering this? And it's because scary stuff I find very intriguing and I gravitate towards it. And then after the fact, I regret it and I end up being so scared later on at night. Like even right now, I'm alone in the house recording this video and I feel a little creeped out, not gonna lie, because it's starting to become evening time and get dark. But anyway, yeah, this isn't a movie I would watch again on my own, but maybe with a group, it could be entertaining. And then as far as, you know, book versus movie, which one wins? It's hard to say because they're so different, but they are similar in that neither of them are trying to be anything better than what they are, right? Like this movie knows that it's just kind of a cheesy, bad horror movie and it just embraces that. And same with the book, like this is just a thriller for kids, you know, for teenagers, and they both deliver what they need to, you know? And so I can respect that, something that doesn't aspire to be more and just is what it is. But maybe I'll ultimately end up saying that the book wins simply because it has a better title. Like Horrorscope, that's so clever. And I love that title. Whereas the movie is so boring, just tarot. I don't know why they didn't keep the book title. That makes no sense to me. I guess it's a toss-up. So just based on the title alone, I'm gonna say the book wins. But before I end, I wanted to mention that in the book, Robin's parents are part of this like Renaissance fair group where they go and do the reenactments and things. And we even get a scene where Robin and her friend go to one of these events. And at the end of the book, the author's note, all he does is talk about this group. It's called Society for Creative Anachronism. And he's like, this is a real organization. If it sounds like it's something you're interested in, you should look up your local chapter and become part of it. And he's like, and I want to thank the group that I'm part of and all the great memories we've made. And so then you're just like, was this book disguised as a Zodiac murder mystery? But really the whole point is that he's just trying to advertise Renaissance fairs because that's how it comes across in the author's note. That was so random that that's the only thing he talks about. And so yeah, that was just kind of funny and unexpected. But yeah, that wraps it up for tarot and Horrorscope. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Also, by the way, this book is available on Kindle. It is free. So if you want to read it, it is on Kindle Unlimited. So I would recommend it. And then the movie, like I said, if you like horror movies, then I think this is also worth watching simply for the tarot cards, the imagery and seeing them come to life. That is also worth seeing. And it is short and it does go by quick. So it is an entertaining 90 minutes. So thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and then comment down below if you are into astrology or tarot cards or horoscope or anything like that. Let me know. Let me know what your zodiac sign is. I am a Libra, but I'm not super into astrology or horoscope. Like I find it interesting. And when I was younger, back when we would get daily newspapers, like paper newspapers, I remember I would read my horoscope for the day. And as an adult, maybe I've dabbled here and there, but yeah, anyway, I don't know too much about it, but let me know your thoughts on all of that down below in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.